So in the first part of this talk, I discussed the requirements that Aleister Crowley wrote about in the Book of Thoth in terms of learning the opening of the key spread. And this idea that there's so much more to tarot than the card meaning, the pictures, and the tarot spreads. Those three things barely scratch the surface, but that, of course, is what we're encouraged to learn, encouraged to read. So I want to go deeper into what those levels are and how the Golden Dawn structured them into their own system of the opening of the key spread. So this is to give you a complete overview and understanding of how the Golden Dawn saw tarot and what they're doing about it. So I'd strongly encourage you to watch the first video first, maybe several times, because there's a lot in there. By necessity, I had to skate over a lot of things because I'm just trying to sort of give this big picture of where and what can be done with the tarot. And of course, most of the time, this knowledge is not discussed or even brought to your attention or even acknowledged. Crowley did it in this book, the Book of Thoth. So there are 5 stages to the opening of the key spread, and in my books Beyond the Celtic Cross and the Tarot and the Magus, I discuss the divination techniques of the interaction of the cards using elemental dignities, card counting, and pairing. And those techniques in the first stage, if you understand and really use these techniques and all the technical knowledge that you can have in a tarot reading, because we're talking about the tarot as an energy. It's 78 cards. It's a generation of this energy with billions and trillions and zillions of combinations, so many that it's impossible to even comprehend. So when you're doing a reading, these infinite possibilities are there for you in this reading, in front of this person, your client, who is also an infinite being. You're an infinite being. And it's the interaction of these energies that bouncing between those 3 kind of things, lots of ways, all the way down as well, that kind of, it's just beyond comprehension. And I focus on the first stage of the opening of the key spread, because if you have the technical knowledge, if you have the experience, if you have lived and worked and studied and used this spread on a daily basis, and it takes years, you can effectively have all the knowledge of all the other 4 stages. So it's kind of a shortcut, but there's a kind of way of understanding this that if you know these things, you can also go back through the other 4 stages, 5 stages if necessary, which creates a reading that could take about 6 hours, easy, to just go through all these things. In general practical terms, that's not going to happen unless you have a client who's charging £1,000 or £1,000 a day to sort of go through these things. Great to have them. If anyone's interested, let me know. So this is the voyage of discovery of knowing your own spiritual development transformations that go on with increasing levels of knowledge. And increasing levels of knowledge can also include the meaning of the cards as well. It's not a kind of exclusive sort of thing that goes on there. It's difficult to say because everyone's at a different stage as to what is higher and what is lower. So there's just a fascinating amount of knowledge that tarot courses just give you. These are cards, these are meanings, tarot spreads. Learn the Celtic Cross. Fantastic. That is just a tiny part. And I'm going to show you why it is such a tiny part when you understand the true structure of the 5 stages of the opening of the key spread. So there's 5 stages. The first stage is cutting the cards into 4 piles. There's the 4 elements: fire, water, air, earth, past, desires, worries, the future. Within all that, with all these techniques, you can sort of interact with spirits, to go Isha, Liber 231, any other kind of system, because it's usually based on astrology. You have to know the astrology. The astrology is in the next 3 spreads, which is the 12 signs of the 12 houses, 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 36 decans. and it split up. And for years, I was kind of like, well, what's going on here? Because there's people who, I thought, well, maybe the Golden Dawn didn't understand astrology. But it's something different. And I'm going to go into what those differences are and why you need to understand what is going on. So there's another reason for separating those three things. In astrology, you don't separate out the decanates with the signs and houses. They're all a package that come together and you use the whole thing. You don't separate them out the way the Golden Dawn did. So but you have to understand why, and I'm going to give that knowledge so you can see what's really going on. And then the fifth stage is the tree of life. We deal the cards out into the 10 Sephiroth. So you think, well, the Golden Dawn, the Golden Dawn, the OTO, all these organisations, they use a grey structure, and that's the reason for the tree of life, because you start below Malkuth. Then, if you're very lucky, get to there, and you may get to the fourth one. Then it gets a big jump up to Tithroth, and that's wow, you're just. And then there's these people who are gods above you who run the thing, and they're an Ipsissimus or Master Templar, something like this. And of course they say, oh, well, the grades are a bit too high, but actually they really think they are these things anyway. So if you were doing a reading for someone who wanted to, who's maybe got to Malkuth, who's gone the first stage, forget thing. Well, I'm going to have to go through on screen my notes to make sure I structure this properly. So you'll have to forgive me at some points in this because I want to get it right. So you get the full structure without me trying to remember all the bits. So he comes along. I'm not getting anywhere in my organisation. What's going wrong? So you can use the 5 stages of the opening the key spread to analyse why this person is not progressing further. It might be there's an elemental imbalance or an astrological problem, or the tree of life is not structured within them properly in the way. So this is and the tarot can sort of identify the problem and give you the solution. It could be there's other ways of looking at this as well. So this is the whole picture. Okay, the whole picture, the 5 stages. It could be that there's someone in the organisation that doesn't want this particular student to progress. And the tarot can identify that person and what level they are within the organisation, or why that person is malfunctioning in terms of the elements or the tree of life or things like this. So you have to know the grade structure and the way it works through the 10 stages of the tree of life to get up there. And the tarot will tell that. The tarot can tell, you can actually sort of, why won't this particular Golden Dawn or OTO or RGNT Master organisation accept me? And you can do the same thing. You can understand how, using the tarot, how that organisation is functioning or dysfunctioning or not functioning, who the good guys are, who are the ones who aren't so good. You can still work with them, but if you have that knowledge, you can deal with it better. There's no problem. I mean, in another entirely different context, if you know someone's a thief, you can still work with them. What you don't do is leave money lying around. Okay? So it's not that someone is a criminal or doing something wrong that you can never associate with them. If you know the kind of person they are, if it's a thief, don't leave money lying around. But if you had a little bit of a problem, you might be the person that knows someone that helps you deal with it. So having that knowledge can help you understand and structure. So everyone now can sort of go away and you can do me if you like, I don't care. These heads of these organisations, are they any good? Do they really know what they're doing? You can do these readings from that. But you'd have to know the 5 stages of the opening of the key spread in order to have that knowledge. So it's like, oh, there's a black magician doing something. Is he a black magician? What is he doing? How is he doing it? Is he doing it to me? Is he doing it to other people? What's going on? You can use the tarot to do those things as well. There's a person who has a spiritual problem, he's afflicted by certain things, spirits or whatever, you can use the 5 stages to see where the problem is. and find the solution. Again, you've got a massive technical knowledge, and you have to have the abilities that the knowledge and experience and perceptions that Crowley describes in here, in his preamble to what the opening the key spread is and how to use it. So that's that kind of stuff, that experiential thing that you can't get from just reading books or going to class and being told the Six of Swords means this or the Queen of Cups means this. That isn't it. That's almost irrelevant. It is just so below the scale that I wouldn't bother about too much, which is one of the reasons why, as if you've read my books and seen the Super Tarot website, newtarot.com, and my videos and meanings, it's just not important. It's the other stuff you've got to know. So let's go and look at, so the 5 stages. You could actually see them as 5, well, that's 4 elements plus spirit. Okay, you could do it that way. Then you see so the question of course is spirit the first, and then fire, water, air and earth? Or is it fire, water, air and earth, and spirit's the last one? I kind of thought for a long time this must be the way. It's not at all. There's a deeper level. And there's probably other levels too. I haven't figured them out yet. I'm working on it. Always work in progress with tarot. So I'm going to now take you through what is really going on with these 5 stages of the opening of the key spread. And some of this stuff you might have heard of, some of it you may not know, some of it, quite frankly, you may not want to know, and you probably hate me for telling it too. I don't care. It's, if you sit down and spend enough time analysing, doing what Aleister Crowley says in there, you deconstruct, you work it all out, you analyse, you live it, you do it, you breathe it, all these things, you will figure these things out yourself. But it's time for tarot readers to be elevated. They're just down at the bottom in the whole magical system, and actually they should be right at the top, and this is where I want them to be, and this is why I'm telling you these things. So let's get down to business. So within the Golden Dawn, which is the basis of the OTO, the Argentum Astrum, and Paul Foster Case has his own organisation, AU8 had his. There are many offshoots of all these organisations, and they all use the Tree of Life and the 10 Sephiroth to structure their grade system. The pecking order, guys at the top are Magister Templi or something like this, or Adeptus Major or Minor or something like that, and there's the people at the bottom who are probationers. And I was fascinated when I first got into the Golden Dawn and reading about it, because I'm not a member of any of these organisations, is that the information given about the tower in some respects is quite perfunctory. It's like, is that it? And the reason why there is that much is because if you know all the other stuff, if you've been through the system, now these days of course it's out in books and videos and on the internet, and you can find all this stuff anyway. You can actually put all the other pieces in. And so the opening the key spread is a kind of unified whole of the entire system, the Golden Dawn. It encompasses everything, which is why, on the one hand, it's out there, and they say, "Oh, well, it's out there. It's in the Book of Thoth, so it's not a secret." It's not a secret, but it's a secret of what you use it for and how you do it. So, it's not 5 stages. Does not mean that there are 5 stages. It goes deeper than that. So, what I'm going to do is take you through the grade structure of the Golden Dawn, because there are differences. It's not all the same, so you're going to have to match up and marry things up in their own way of doing things. But this is the basic structure. I'm just going to give you the structure. If these names don't mean anything to you, then I'll save some secrets from you. You can always work it out later. So we're going to go from the bottom upwards. And the bottom stage is neophyte. And the neophyte is someone who's new, and they've been accepted into their secret society, but they don't have the knowledge to progress further, which is the knowledge lectures that the Golden Dawn does and things like this. And as part of the outer order kind of thing, I'm saying the outer order is a kind of distinction. You know, people get a bit huffy about these technical terms. The Golden Dawn, I'll say the Golden Dawn because that's the kind of root things, all the other ones go onto it. So when I say Golden Dawn, you can apply it to your own organisations. The neophyte stage is where they'll tell you there are tarot cards, and the tarot cards are magic cards, and it's related to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and some astrology, and there's the meanings of the cards. The stuff you kind of get in book T. That's a neophyte stuff. Of course, it's got all the stuff, information there about the Sephiroth and the paths and tree of life and everything else within that, because you do learn the basics. But it's a microcosm sort of stuff. It's not giving you the big sort of picture. So the neophyte stage is the card meanings, the tarot spreads, and Celtic Cross, which, funny enough, is pretty much all anyone is ever taught in tarot. So as a tarot reader, if you do the card meanings, the Celtic Cross, and the spreads, you know, there's umpteen spreads out there, different decks and sort of stuff. In Golden Dawn terms, you're an outsider. That's all you need to know. And that's where tarot is kept, not even on the tree of life. It just get on with it. You'll be fine. Keep on going the way you are. So, this knowledge of the opening the key spread is actually reserved for when you get to Adeptus Minor, I think, which is kind of about the level of Tipperus. So you've done all the kind of groundwork and things, and then the energies are integrated and organised, the four elements are balanced, and all these things. You're at the point of Tipperus, the sun, the centre of the tree of life, you're all balanced, and then you're given all this information. So, yeah, it's kind of there at face value, but you need all the other stuff to go further. I don't know, I mean, from my experience of people in the Golden Dawn and these other ones, most people don't know much about tarot anyway. They just want to get onto invocations and Goetia and doing the pentagram rituals and hexagram rituals and the knockings in there as well. We're not going to cover that at the moment, that's a bit too advanced. I'm still figuring out ways of talking about that sort of thing anyway, but it's there, believe me. So we have the first stage, the one that I talk about in Beyond the Celtic Cross and the Town of Magus, and I have a lot of videos on YouTube, as you probably know. And you cut the cards into the four paths, the four elements. So these four elements, earth, air, fire and water, so you start from fire and cut down. And it's the Yod He Vav He kind of order of things, which is the name of the God in the Bible. So the earth part is to do with Malkut, okay? And so, and the first stage of going beyond probationer is to become a zealoter, which is the master of the earth kind of thing. Then the second stage is Yesod, which is to do with the moon. And the moon is the element of air in the system, Yesod, which is the Oricus, okay? Then you have Hod, which is the 8th Sephra, which is to do with Mercury. And that is water, and that is practicus. So you have quite a way to go to get to these sort of things. And then the fourth stage of this opening, the first stage is the fire element, which is Netzach victory, and it's to do with philosophers. So you kind of go from outside the order, neophyte, to zealoter, theoricus, practicus, philosophers. And then there's this kind of represents the first order within the Golden Dawn. Okay. So that is the first stage. So that's the first order. So if you're kind of, you know, you're someone higher up in the Golden Dawn, and you have to induct your candidates, and you want to see whether they're ready to go through to the next level, from Malkut to Yesod, or earth, or from air to water, or water to fire. You can do a tarot reading detailed opening the key reading to sort of analyse that candidate, see whether they're ready or not to progress to the further stage and what problems, or if a ritual went wrong, then if you know those levels in the tree of life and how the ritual structure works, you can use first stage in particular for those 4 levels to see where the problems are, and you can actually rectify them within the system. So then with the first order you get to the portal stage, and the portal is the quintessence, and the quintessence is 4 elements plus spirit, Kasha. And you kind of have that with the aces, and you have this whole kind of thing with the princesses and the aces. They're kind of out of the structure of the other tarot cards because they don't have astrological attributions as such. So they're the kind of the link to Keter, and Keter is where we're going to get to as we progress through these stages. So that's where the princesses and the aces kind of do, because they represent spirits, if you like, and nothing else. So the spirit plus earth, air, fire and water is a kind of structure, hierarchical structure, the first order of that magical order, and you have the students working their way through. So you can analyse any other magical order and see where they're up to and what they're not doing, or you can see the imbalances that are going on within the elemental thing of that magical organisation. You can have great fun with this. So if there's a first order, there's a second order. So what's that going to be about? Well, the second order covers the astrological stages of the houses, the signs of the zodiac, and the decanates. So all these 3, the astrology thing, are within the second order of your magical order. Okay? So the second stage is the 12 houses, and that relates to Tippereth. So you've got to that point of Adeptus Minor, where traditionally in the Golden Dawn orders you're just given a massive amount of information. And in one sense you can see this as astrology. The 12 houses relate to the areas of life, like the first house is the self, the second house is money and finances, third house is communication, fourth house is the home and mother or father, depending on how you do it, fifth house is love affairs, sixth house is work, seventh house is relationships and legal matters, eighth house is death, Scorpio, money, hidden stuff, ninth house is higher knowledge, travel, 10th house is work and career, 11th house is magical societies, and 12th house is the hidden stuff as well. So you've got this basic kind of structure. So that's the Adeptus Minor, is the 12 houses. And the next one, you go above that one, you go from Tippereth, and now you go into Gebra, which is Mars. It's on the pillar of severity, so you kind of crossed over to the other side, if you like. And you're at the stage of the 12 signs of the zodiac. That's Gebra. And to get to that stage, you're at the level of Adeptus Major. You're going really high now. So you're going into stuff that's kind of rarefied, and very few people get to that stage. Then the fourth stage is your 36 decanates, which relates to Hesed, and that's Jupiter. And then you know, if you get to that stage, you're at Adeptus Exemptus. Slightly theoretical in many respects, but the 36 decanates is a clear reference to the Goetic spirits and the Goetia. So to be at that level with the decanates and the Goetic spirits, there's 72 of them, so there's 2 for each decanate, it's an integration of that knowledge within yourself, and Jupiter is beneficent. It's an expansion knowledge and all these things. So all those things, and this is below the supernal level. Okay. So that's the second order. So analysis of the second, third and fourth stages of the OTO, opening of the key spread, is an analysis of the second order. Then the fifth and final stage is the tree of life. We have the 10 sephirots, and you deal out the cards into those things, you analyse them in the way you want to. And they relate to the supernals, Bina, Hukma, and Keter. So Bina is Magus Templi, Hoc Maris Magus, Keter is Ipsissimus. So there you have the totality. If you know the Golden Dawn system and all these other ones, the Tree of Life is the ultimate kind of thing. They're able to manipulate and work through the entire system, the energetic levels. So you can see yourself as a priest of having that Tree of Life within you, that you can do all the work that controls the energies and the auras, if you like, of all the members and students and officials of your magical order, which these days, of course, can be worldwide. So you can use this whole kind of knowledge to see where if there's problems or things are breaking down or rituals seem to go wrong at a certain level, or a person who's functioning, because all the functionaries and the officers of the order are related in some way to the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life as well. So you have all this kind of knowledge that's going on, and now you can see why the opening of the key is not discussed. Because actually, if you know that, you can find your way around any magical order and magical system using the tarot. The cards don't change. That knowledge of levels will help you to sort of analyse and work through these things. And of course, the first stage of the opening of the key spread gives you that knowledge to start with. So there we are, a blown system. This is not about how you read the cards at those levels or how you interpret the houses or the signs of the zodiac or the decanates or anything else, because that's another matter, and you have to kind of go into things in different kind of level of understanding. But now, hopefully, you have the entire picture of where the tarot is, and it is greater than is all those sort of things put together. It's extraordinary knowledge and extraordinary power. And where are the tarot readers? They're probationers. They're not even in the system. They're just kept outside of it. Cards, the meanings, the pictures, the spreads. That's all they're given. It's not even a bone to pick on, you know? It's scraps. So, as a tarot reader, and any tarot reader has this knowledge, would be able to, and it's the function of the tarot in its sense, is a powerful kind of, it puts divination into a entirely different level, because it may be that those people who are at the top, because they're not going to read the card. They don't do this kind of stuff necessarily. They may not have this knowledge, but someone in that organization needs to know and understand the opening of the key spread and what it can do. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they just kind of think, oh, well, tarot is not important, all these things. But maybe if tarot was integrated into these organizations and they understood these kind of methods and all the uses, that they would be better, more spiritually aware and magically powerful in the way that they deal with things. And they'll deal with the whole thing, because the tarot includes the good and the bad and the evil and the spiritual and everything else. It's not I'm not saying that in a kind of way that says this is good or bad or not. It's just that within the context of the elemental dignities, card counting, pairing, and all the other techniques that I haven't discussed, can be used in order to balance and harmonise the energies. But it is about balance and harmony. So if someone is a magician who wanted to perform a specific function, he could use this knowledge, and the tarot would tell him what to do it, when to do it, how to do it, and what the outcome is. Or if he has done a ritual and it's gone wrong, the tarot, using this whole sort of thing, will give him an indication of where he went wrong and how he can correct it. And that's real power. That's real knowledge. I wanted to share this with you because there's so much more to tarot. It's just at the moment, and this is why, hopefully now you can see why I get annoyed with what's going on so often in tarot, because it's just fiddling with well-run bones. And hopefully tarot readers at some point, because all this knowledge, as a tarot reader, you don't have to join these organisations to gain this knowledge, but you do have to do a hell of a lot of study and research. And just by doing that, you're going to be a better tarot reader anyway. So I'll see where I take this next. I'm not sure at the moment. I mean, I do need to sort of work through give you an understanding of how the other stages work. But for now, I think this is enough.